Call the meeting to order. Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Here.
Trustee Katsinas.
Here.
Trustee Milani.
Here.
Trustee Compass.
Here.
Trustee Reardon.
Here.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Here.
Mayor Pico.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the May 15th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustee meeting of May 15th, 2023.
Second.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
so it was about this time during the last meeting where I was attending remotely due to a back injury where I could hear the board could not hear me. So I'd just like to move that the minutes be amended to reflect that I was present, although my votes could not be heard due to the technical difficulty.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Call the roll on the amendment.
First of all, who made the first?
Compass.
Aye?
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Call the roll for the original.
Yeah. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Approval of the May 15, 2023 special meeting minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees special meeting of May 15th, 2023.
Second.
Any comments? Good. Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
I abstain, I was not here.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Proclamation honoring Stella Michalak's 100th birthday.
So it's my pleasure tonight to recognize Stella Michalak for her 100th birthday. We should all be so lucky. A proclamation recognizing the 100th birthday of Stella Michalak. Whereas longevity of life is a blessing not only for the individual, but also for a community which benefits from the knowledge, creativity, and experience this individual brings. Whereas the Village of Orland Park recognizes with respect and admiration the contribution of the senior citizens in our community. And whereas Stella Michalak was born on June 2nd, 1923, in her parents' home in the Back of the Yards neighborhood in Chicago. She was the second born of her 4 sisters and 1 brother. And whereas she attended St. John of God School and graduated from Lindblom High School, she moved to 53rd Street in the Gage Park neighborhood of Chicago in 1951. And whereas Stella's fondest memories are of attending Polish school, decorating the Polish tree at the Museum of Science and Industry, dancing with her friends in her Polish costume with the Polish National Alliance, PNA, swimming at Sherman Park Pool and going to the PNA camp over the summers. And whereas she likes to sew, she played volleyball as a teenager and was a member of the Moose Lodge's bowling team. Stella has traveled extensively visiting Poland, Spain, Morocco, Las Vegas, Hawaii, and Mexico. And whereas over the years, Stella worked at her family's grocery store, a button company, and the airlines. She found a career at her brother-in-law's company, Midco, and worked there for over 40 years. She retired at the age of 82. And whereas Stella's family described her as a fun, faithful, true confidant, generous, religious, and humble. Stella believes that the family is everything. She has 18 nieces and nephews and 50 great and great nieces and nephews. Whereas Stella moved to Orland Park in 2012, she was the favorite driving instructor of her nieces and nephews, and she drove until she was 93. She still lives in her condo. The first time she was ever in the ER was when she was 95. Her family firmly believes she will outlive all of them. Now therefore, I, Keith Peacock, Village President of the Village of Orland Park, Illinois, and the counties of Cook and Will, do hereby proclaim Friday, June 2nd, 2023, Stella Michalak Day in the Village of Orland Park. Yep.
Accounts payable through June 5th, 2023, approval.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to approve the accounts payable from May 16, 2023 through June 5th, 2023 in the amount of $5,669,227.35.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
I abstain. I have a business relationship with two vendors.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Consent agenda.
Item A, payroll for May 14th, 2023, approval. Item B, payroll for May 26th, 2023, approval. Item C, Next Day Plus printer maintenance contract 2023. Item D, SB Friedman Development Advisors as needed consulting services. Item E, 149th Street wetland cleanup phase 1. Item F, Catalina subdivision water main replacement additional oversight change order request. Item G, Centennial Park West restroom relocation project sole source request. Item H, Village Hall access control reader installation sole source request. Item I, A&E Services Police Department firing range and EOC facility project CDs. Item J, BWP Corp. DBA Cannabis Business License 21-27030. Item K, Oak Lawn Regional Water System ordinance for approving the changes to the conforming agreement. Item L, Great Pumpkin Party fees and ticketing platform. Item M, Taste of Orland Park tents, tables, and other supplies rental contract. Item N, Centennial backstops. Item O, Budget Amendment Number 1, 2022 rollovers.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
move to approve items A through O of the consent agenda.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Prairie Elementary School renovations.
I will entertain a motion to approve the committee of the whole recommendation with the change to maintain not less than the current number of parking spaces, and to remove islands and/or landscaping to achieve this number of parking spaces. Total landscape planting requirements can be met at other locations on site.
So moved.
Second.
How many spots are there currently and how many spots were being removed? Because this was approved last time, so I figured we had the same issue. Do you remember? Well, they're not going to be removed now, so that's what we're changing. Okay. I'm assuming that we remove spots there as well for these landscape islands. And we don't have that many to remove, so it's the same issue as the other three schools from earlier today. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
No.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye. Okay.
Centennial Park West Concert Venue Award.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to approve entering into a contract with Reconstruction at the proposed cost of $9,973,297 plus alternates to $172,831 and $370,000, and allowing 10% contingency of $997,329.70 for unforeseen circumstances, as well as any necessary changes in the project scope during construction, and a total contract value of $11,313,457.70. and authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review, and authorize the village manager to approve change orders not to exceed the contingency amount.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
Mr. Mayor, I'm concerned about, I have concerns about reconstruction, not objecting to them, but just some concerns that they bid 11, or was it 11,300,000, and there's, after discussion, it came down by over $1 million to 9.9. But they also, we have a fixed contract for 9.9, but then we also have the unit price for their cubic yard of dirt of $142. It's, you know, it's above any of the other competing bids by the other people. And I hate to see that high a price for that extra of cubic yards, especially when it could be the offset for coming down on their fixed price. One of the things that plagues construction companies as well as all employers is, the second thing is, it plagues a lot of us is finding experienced, capable people to manage the jobs. And I'm sure Reed has been plagued by this too. It's just that we need, there are some good people on the job, and I'm concerned that they've got other jobs that are outside Chicago, in Indianapolis, where I'm sure there are higher prices and they're bigger jobs than what we have. I just hope they put their better people on our job, but that's asking a lot because they have a big job in Indianapolis, and that's where most of their volume is coming from. My third thing about this is that we never, yes, $11 million is a big contract to me, and we never saw any financial information. And we, you know, there was things were not pre-qualified from a financial side. They could be the best financed company in the world. We just don't know. And so, I mean, sometimes we leave it to White and Company or the other people in management here. It's just, I just want, it'd be nice to have somebody who knew about construction accounting to opine on that they have enough capital and resources to do it, to do the contract. So I have, you know, just those are my concerns with this. I do believe that they're a decent company, and but I have some concerns, and because of that, we have a contingency of over $1 million on this. I'm concerned. I'm worried about the extras getting out of hand, and I'd like that contingency to be reduced. So I'm going to propose that we adjust the contingency down to 5%.
Are you making a motion to amend?
I'm making a motion to amend, I think, to reduce the contingency down to 5% from 10%.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, so to discuss the, first we'll discuss the contingency and the motion to amend. So I guess if we could start with, if you could address some of the concerns there, either Kashid or Ray.
I'll get us started here. So in talking to Reed Construction, you know, we interviewed the different companies that we were considering for this project. Reed is a large company with 38 project managers and 38 superintendents. We're confident. We met with their project team. We're confident in their skill set, and they have exemplary projects that we believe show that they're very invested and capable of doing this job. So we're very confident they can do it. They have a capacity of $200 million right now. They're booked for $150 million, so we believe that they can handle this project and will do well with it. When we met with them, they talked about how this project is a high priority for them. A couple of their staff actually reside in Illinois. I think one of their president might reside, in Orland Park. And so they see this as an important project as well. They've enjoyed that site and they want to see this site be successful. So we believe they're invested in and capable of doing this job.
Okay. Could you address the 142 cubic yards? Is that, it was unclear, was that for removal of material? Okay, but was it for, it's for removal of material?
I think that was outside of the lump sum.
So
that was for
I guess
any
what I'm trying to
additional
understand is
work.
$142 per cubic yard. It doesn't say, it says, it doesn't say what it's for. Is it for removal? Is it for replacement? What is it?
So they can speak better, Mayor, but what they have told us is for removal and replacement. So per yard basis, it's gonna be 142 yards to get it out, and 42 dollars to bring it back. So when they take out anything, if it is contaminated or if it is not usable on site, it will cost us $142 to get it out, but we will have to bring it back if needed at that same price.
So for a 15-yard, dump, we're talking $2,130 per truckload for removal? Okay, so it's both. So it's taking it out, so we're talking 1,100 to take it out, 1,100 to bring it back, including new soil. Okay, that makes more sense, and I understand. I mean, all of these, removing of material now all has to be prevailing wage, I believe, with the latest changes at the state level. So, okay, and it wasn't that much higher. It was higher, there's no doubt. I got my attention as well. As far as the contingency goes, Trustee Healy, yeah, I'm with you. I don't like the high contingencies. We've talked about this in the past. But one thing we did do last year is we had an analysis done of all of the contingencies because we wanted to make a fact-based decision on that. And what we found is there was only a couple times we actually used the contingency. So I felt, I think the rest of the board felt, at least me, I can speak for myself, that that our staff has done a really good job of managing those contingencies and not letting that creep because it was very seldom used. So it is nice for them to have that contingency there so they don't have to come back to us and keep the project going. And since it would have been a different story if they would have always been used, then I think we'd have had a different discussion. But they were only used a couple of times, and most of those times it was for small amounts. So from that perspective, I'm comfortable leaving the contingency in there so that we don't have to readdress issues that maybe need a short-term turnaround time and don't have to wait to come back to the board. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I agree with that comment because I remember that study that we did last year. Is there a way to, since this one is so large, is there a way to get maybe a little notification if they start getting, we don't need it on every one because they're doing a good job, but this one is, it's like Bill said, or Trustee Healy said, it's $1 million. Can we get, an interim report if they start getting close to it or they start using it? And then we can at least have a discussion about it so we know where we're at.
So for this project and for Schuessler Park, we've created a parks working group. And the working group is made up of Joe, Rashid, and Ray, and their respective staffs. They're going to have meeting minutes, and those will be regularly provided to the board so you can track progress for both of these projects.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Call the roll on the amendment.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski. Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
The amendment is to
Yeah.
lower the contingency to 5%.
No.
Trustee Compass.
No.
Trustee Reardon.
No.
Mayor Peacock.
No, the amendment fails 4-3. Any comments on the main motion? Any other questions or concerns about the Centennial Park West venue? Call the roll.
Trustee Reardon. Aye. Trustee Radiszewski. Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye.
Recreation and Parks Facility Behavior Guidelines.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Radiszewski?
I move to approve the use of the behavioral guidelines as presented for use in all Village of Orland Park facilities and parks in the administration of consequences to individuals found to be engaged inappropriate, and/or disruptive behavior as outlined in these guidelines.
Second.
I believe this needs to be amendment to say in inappropriate and/or disruptive behavior. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to amend the motion so that the last clause reads, individuals found to be engaged in inappropriate and/or disruptive behavior.
Second.
Any questions on the amendment? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy. Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski. Mayor Pico.
Aye. Any questions or comments on the main motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
just a question for Ray. It seems like all of these are first offenses, right? What happens if somebody commits an offense again who already had an offense against them?
Sure,
I mean, what
and-
is the provision for that?
They build upon each other. So if it's less than 1 year, it would build upon the other one. So if, say, someone did something that resulted in a 30-day suspension, they did something else, then it would accumulate from there. So it could result in a 60 or 90-day suspension. After 1 year, if there's no additional inappropriate behavior, then it would go back to square zero. But it would really depend. If that individual then did something really out of line, we might have to reconsider what happened in the first time.
Okay. But that was talked about.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ray.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Radiszewski. Trustee Healy. Aye. Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Heritage Sites Strategic Plan.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve adopting the Heritage Site Strategic Plan.
Second.
Any comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
Just a couple things. It's the, it seems like in the plan, it says that we will be moving, it says we're not going to move the slaughterhouse or the cabins right away, but we will move them to Stellwagen at a later date. I'd just like to, that's not definite. There's still room for, you know, if they never go to Stellwagen, that would be okay with me. So, that's a minor little thing with it, but I think the Heritage Site Strategic Plan is needed, and I think it's, I think the staff has done a great job in accumulating the information and listening to the volunteers and the two boards that are involved, as well as listening to a number of residents. We're not all happy about the changes happening with the History Museum, but, you know, time moves on, and that's it. It's hard to judge the value of heritage as we go on. And in this in this current period where people don't consider history that much, it's a difficult thing to put a value on an intangible like the value of history and heritage. And it's tough to see these changes go on here, but I think financially at some point we have to move on with this. And the other thing in here is that I'd like to just ask George a question about, we're not going to demolish that Old Village Hall immediately. It's going to take a while before we get around to that.
Yes, for that to happen, there's a number of other steps, and the board today already approved the gun range, and that's actually the linchpin for all of the dominoes to get to the point where we can actually abandon that building.
And if someone came along and made you an offer for that building, if a white knight appeared and they wanted to save that building for posterity, they're welcome to come and bid on it and make a financially reasonable offer.
It's a policy decision, if the board wants to entertain anything like that, but the building's not for sale right now. We haven't listed it or anything like that.
Right, but we'd all hate to see it go, but I understand that the dynamics of that the village has to move on, and to some people, it's, you know, the heritage is important to them, other ones, it's not. But I just think that somewhere down the line, there may be someone who comes and wants to save it. And if there's not, then there's not. When we have to demolish it, you know, that'll be a sad day, and this is a step into that direction, but I think it's a necessary step. And if nobody's going to step up to save it, then it will be reduced to pictures and memories. But I think this is again, I think this is a heritage site strategic plan is necessary to reorganize and the four major sites here and to move on. So I'm looking forward to voting yes with this.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
I tend to agree that, you know, it's nice to see this plan put together, and, you know, we do know a plan is just a plan. But I'm also in agreement with Trustee Healy that, you know, the Chipetti Slaughterhouse and the Hostert cabins, I don't understand really why we'd spend any money to move them, especially since they're replica cabins. And the slaughterhouse and all of that, it does add a nice place to go if you're walking, and it has a nice look to it, and it looks like it belongs there, even though it may not be historical resemblance of where the buildings once were. Picking them up and moving them to Stellwagen doesn't really serve any purpose either. So, you know, I'm glad that we, you know, at least at the short term, are going to leave them where they were. I hope that we leave them permanently, because I think it's a nice asset where they're sitting today. So other than that, you know, I agree with the plan. So.
Mr. Mayor.
Trustee Reardon.
Yeah, while it's very emotional for some people, and I agree with Trustee Healy's comments, I do want to mention that I think the village, the staff have done a great job of consolidating these things and saving them. It's not just, you know, tearing these down and getting rid of this stuff. We are keeping a number of the, you know, very significant elements of the heritage and putting it all in one location. There was very little attendance at the various places. You get very few people coming, but now all together, it can be rebranded a little bit, and I think we're doing the best we can with it and understanding it's emotional for some people, so I commend you on that.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Compass.
So aligned with Trustee Reardon, I'd like to thank staff for putting this together. This isn't the end of a mission. This is a broadening of a mission, right? We look at these heritage sites. We first started off looking at Booley last year. We discovered that a lot of it had been missed by the village, right? It wasn't necessarily looked after and taken under consideration along with the other historical sites that we have. And here we've got Booley, we've got Stellwagen, we've got the cabins, the slaughterhouse, now the Humphrey House. We're going to be looking at this as a holistic program, right? And I know one of my asks of Ray has been, how do we program across all of these sites so that we're treasuring and keeping the heritage of our village alive? And I think with a lot of what we've been doing lately with the displays in both in our village hall here and over in the library, these artifacts are getting seen by so many more people, right? So yes, it's sad that a building that many have attachment to, you know, it needs repair. I wish we had the $1 million. We don't. But that said, I think as far as the mission is concerned, we are doing more and even better than we have in the past, and that's only going to improve over time.
Any other comments? So I agree with the comments here. When I arrived here, you know, one of the things with the museum that we've seen since I've been here is that we don't get a whole lot of traffic over there. And we have a lot of historical things in the village, but consolidating them in one space where it makes it a reason to visit, I think is a much better plan than having all these separate things. That's why eventually I think the Chipetti Slaughterhouse, which actually is the original, those aren't replicas, ends up over at either Stellwagen or Boley, because that allows people to see them in one spot as opposed to being isolated. Same thing with the Hostert cabins. But if you think back to, you know, 2017, I mean, we didn't have the John Humphrey House. In fact, you know, there was a whole lot of fighting and consternation, and would it survive? And that's a National Historic Landmark, so it's something we do have to take care of. So the village is taking a lot of time to take care of the Humphrey House, the Stellwagen, and a lot of money, and Boley Farm, and trying to make them more robust so that so people can visit them. So I think regarding the old Village Hall, it's pretty safe to say nobody here has more memories at the Orland Village Hall, old Village Hall, than I do. My dad was on the board from ages 2 to 8, so I remember going to the police station, volunteer fire department, everything was in that location. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's a building, and we have to move on from some of our buildings and consolidate them because they're very costly. And the expense of $1 million to fix that building that really we don't need doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's not historical like Humphrey, it's not historical like Stellwagen. So I think those are the sites we need to focus our attention on. Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Ordinance eliminating the museum board.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Amending the Orland Park Village Code with Regards to the Museum Development Advisory Board."
Second?
Any comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
One thing that, when reading this ordinance, it seems rather, it's missing something. It's missing a large thank you to those people that sacrificed their evenings and sacrificed a lot of other times to invest in trying to make that museum go. And I know these are going to be merged into the Stellwagen thing, but the wording on this ordinance seems a little bit cold. And I think I propose, I'm making a motion to amend this to give a heartfelt thanks on the part of the village to the volunteers at the museum who have helped maintain it through these years, do their best to maintain it and research material and help with the artifacts. And also to the museum board members who have made a very wholehearted effort to keep the heritage of Orland alive all these years. It's not over, there's ones in the future, but I would like to amend this to include an expression of gratitude to them.
Second.
Are there any comments on the motion to amend? And I guess first I'll point out is that the motion is simply to implement the law and the rule. And it's not to put flowery language or anything else and thank people. That's what the board floor is for making your comments, and you can certainly make those comments. But this is actually a motion to amend an ordinance, it's not a proclamation, it's not anything of that kind.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Compass.
Yeah, I would agree with that line of thought. I do thank all of the volunteers. I think there's a matter of precedence here too, because we've had in the past made modifications or reduced boards in the past, commissions, and we've always thanked them as a matter of that, but never within the legislative text. So while I agree wholeheartedly with the spirit in which Trustee Healy suggests this change, I don't know that it's necessary for the language itself.
Any other comments? Call the roll on the amendment.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
No.
Trustee Compass.
No.
Trustee Reardon.
No.
Trustee Radiszewski.
No.
Mayor Pico.
No. Motion fails 5-2. Regarding the elimination of any comments regarding the elimination of the museum board? So I would like to, so this is an important first step in our strategic plan that we just passed, which is we were going to create eventually a heritage sites board, which will include Stellwagen Farm, will include all the heritage sites, not just the museum board, that oversees all of that. So, you know, as part of that plan, we've agreed that we don't need multiple boards to do that. I do want to thank the museum board for all their hard work and for all the people that volunteer. And I know there's been some consternation about their ability to volunteer. There's nothing stopping them from continuing to volunteer. We still need volunteers to help with our artifacts and cataloging them and all of those things. So all of those all those activities will still continue. So I encourage you to please continue to volunteer, not only with our artifacts, but also at our heritage sites, which include the Humphrey House, Stellwagen, and Boley Farm, both the Humphrey House and Stellwagen, which should be renovated this year. So again, I'd like to thank all those museum board members for myself and for the Village of Orland Park for all the hard work that you've done in the past. Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Timothy McCarthy, Police Headquarters.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to approve naming the Orland Park Police Department the Timothy McCarthy Police Headquarters.
Second.
Any comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Reardon.
congratulations, well-deserved. I just got to comment on how great your grandchildren are behaving, waiting all this time. 4 kids of my own, and I cannot believe how quiet and well-behaved they all are, but I'm sure others will have a number of comments about the actual award, so congratulations.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Compass.
Chief, thank you for your many long and distinguished years of service here. I want you to know that Chief Mitchell was very upset with me because I did not give him advance warning that this was going to be on the agenda today. I know that he could not be here physically, he was out of town, but he wanted me to express my congratulations as well. And George, make sure that Chief Mitchell is on the invite to the dedication ceremony, otherwise I'm going to be in trouble again.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Katsinas.
Chief, I just wanted to say thank you for all your years of service to the residents of Orland Park. You've done an outstanding job and left quite a legacy. And this is our way and the village's way of thanking you and memorializing you for your time and efforts and energy, what you did. So thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
Chief, the legacy is more than the building. Your legacy is also that history of the low crime rate, because it was your training and all that that got the force there and just helped us do historic crime, low crime, and the best in the state is what you left us with. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
I'm kind of with a few words here. I don't know exactly what I want to say, but, Chief McCarthy, you have a special place in my heart, and for all the things that you've done within Orland Park to keep us safe and to keep the citizens first. I think you did a fantastic job when you were here, and congratulations to you. I think this is very something to be proud of. So, thank you.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Save the best for last. Chief McCarthy, thank you. Thank you for all that you have done for the Village of Orland Park. Thank you for your legacy. And like I said, it's more than a building. Your leadership and what you've done, and you've created other leaders that will, continue, in the future. And thank you. And, thank you to your family, because it is a sacrifice when your father, your grandfather is out there and you're serving and you're worried when, you're coming home late. I have police officers in my family, and I know what that worry is. And so thank you very much for all the sacrifices that you and also your family have made to protect our community. And you do have really great kids and grandkids.
So, Chief, thank you very much. And yes, very well-behaved grandchildren, but look at the well-behaved policeman sitting back there in the back corner. Carol, thank you very much. As Joni aptly pointed out, all that you've sacrificed as well in Chief McCarthy's service to the Village of Orland Park, but also the service to the country. And we thank you for that. And there's going to be a much bigger ceremony. This was not designed to be ceremonial so much, but to make sure that this gets passed. So we will make sure that everyone can be there, including all the invites that will go out. But Chief McCarthy was hired by the previous administration many years ago, and it was clearly a critical hire in making this the best department in the state, and that happened under your leadership. A former village manager, who I know, said, the chief could have been very hard to manage coming out of the Secret Service, but he wasn't. I can speak to my personal experience. Chief McCarthy was a consummate professional with whom I have a great relationship, both personally and professionally, in my opinion. At a difficult time during my transition, he was an example to other directors at a time when we had elected officials and a clerk and a village manager that weren't so much. And it was your example that led them to behave professionally so that we could have a smooth transition into this administration. It was critical to my success as a mayor, but even more importantly, it's critical to the success of the village over the last 6 years. So I look forward to being there and formally naming the police station the Timothy J. McCarthy Police Headquarters. Thank you.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Rashewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. I think it would be appropriate for a round of applause. Chief, if you'd like to say anything, or if you want to wait till the ceremony? Okay, come on up.
I'm very happy you did this before I passed away. It's always better to have a building named for you before you're gone, so you can enjoy it a little bit. But Mayor Pico was right. Mayor McLaughlin appointed me. Mayor Pico became mayor, and one of the first conversations I had with Mayor Pico was a man-to-man sit-down. Mayor, I'm the chief. Where do you want to go with this? And as he said, I never campaigned one word about the police department. And we developed a very good relationship after that. But the success of the police department, starts with you folks listening to us, letting us run it, and providing the funding to do it. The funding comes from the taxpayers. Thank goodness that they appreciated and understood what we were doing, and we were getting results on behalf of our residents. Such things as CIT, a very important part of policing in this day and age, but many things going back, beginning with the bike patrol and things of that nature, drones and all the technology we introduced over the years for one reason, public safety. But in the end, the credit goes to these folks back here who are out there on the street. When we go to bed at midnight, they're still out in the street doing the job. And the credit goes to them. I can put in all the programs I wanted to. Chief Mitchell and Chief Rossing, the command staff, have continued all those programs with your support, of course, and they're keeping the residents of Orland Park safe. But these men and women are out there at midnight, 2, 3 in the morning, when sometimes things get a little bit dicey out there. They get a little bit dicey. But I'll go back to when we had a little bit of unrest in Orland Park, when we had the Floyd incident in Minneapolis. Everyone in the department, from the lowest person, the CSO that just came on the job, to Mike Malani, who we had posted out at Best Buy. We had officers that were on their way on a motorcycle on a trip out to the West Coast, heard about what happened, turned around and came back. Put everyone on about 14-hour shifts, did 3 or 4 different staffing each day. And I think, Mayor, you were there for a number of them when we went through all of our staffing to get through the night, to get through to 4 a.m. and different times. And the police department, of all the things I was proud of, that was one of the things I was most proud of, that we got through that thing literally unscathed. But again, it's the men and women back there and the command staff doing the job with your support. And I'm very proud and honored that you would consider naming the police station after me. So thank you so much. And my family was thrilled to be able to be here. And they're all under threat of you-know-what if they did not.
Yeah, do you guys want to share what they're under threat of? Thank you so much.
Capital Improvement Plan and 5-year financial plan.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve the Village of Orland Park 2023 through 2028 Capital Improvement Plan and 5-year financial plan.
Second.
Are there any comments? I know we discussed this extensively at the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
A lot of work went into this by the staff who did I mean, really, I was impressed by what I saw from George, from your guys, and Kevin, and the financial department, as well as all the department heads who took it seriously. We did a lot of studies and all that. We made good use of all the information and made some adult decisions on what should be done and what should be kept. And they're not all easy decisions. And I just feel good about it, is that it provides, for me, the first time in a while, the long-term, having much more confidence in the long-term financial health of this organization, of this village. And I just think it was a good move to do, and it came, and it maybe the results weren't what everybody wanted, but it is something you can have confidence and worry about as little, as you can any village, about the financial health of this, of our village. So thank you for going through all that, and I look forward to seeing these dreams come true.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Katsinas.
Again, thanks to staff, very comprehensive report, and I would encourage any resident that's interested to please look at the report. One of the most glaring lines out of it, with all the intense detail that was in there, it was that the village's revenues and expenditures are forecasted to be structurally out of balance. The village revenues are not expected to keep up with the cost of current service and capital expenditures, resulting in a fiscal imbalance. I think that's the crux of the report. All the information comes to that conclusion. So unfortunately, it's a hard decision for a trustee. I'm sure for the mayor, my fellow trustees, we have to look at the greater good and the financial health moving forward of the village, our high level of services, whether it be public works or our police department, to be able to keep those in place that people have come to expect. And noting that the fund balances aren't there to do that, is a hard choice. Do we cut services, or do we look at other revenue sources? So this was very eye-opening, a lot of excellent information that makes, certainly my decision a lot easier in the next few minutes. So thank you to staff.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Malani.
Thank you, staff, for all the hard work that you've put into this, because, we can't make informed decisions without the work that you guys do. And, as we did this work and looked, and we've kind of seen what the kicking a can down the road approach does. And, I believe in the last 6 years, since Mayor Pico has, joined the board as mayor, and in the last 4 years, we've made great progress in making great changes and, doing things in the best interest of Orland Park. And this 5-year plan lays the framework to continue down that path of doing what's best. And that's, making sure that the people of Orland Park get what they deserve and get what they need. So, again, as Trustee Katsina said, there's some hard decisions that need to be made. But again, it's to make sure that we're heading in the right direction for the future of Orland Park. So thank you for all the hard work that you guys put in.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Compass.
So Mayor Pico or George, I don't know if you can refresh my memory. When's the last time the village had a 5-year plan?
It's the best as we can tell. I mean, there's always been something referred to as a capital plan, but without revenues behind it, it's a wish list. So there have been capital plans, but a comprehensive 5-year financial analysis, as far as we don't see it. We have never seen it.
I guess I would also comment that I saw some capital plans, but they much more look like they sat on a whiteboard and said, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. I've never seen anything that assessed our buildings, assessed our vehicles, assessed our roads, assessed our, our parks. In the fact-based assessments we did across the village to know exactly, I don't think there's any surprises. I mean, I think there'd be very, very few, unless something breaks, I think there'd be very few surprises in the village as far as here's some new capital, which we've all been, even those of you who've only been on the board for 2.5 years have seen a lot of surprises. And I know George has seen a lot of surprises, I've seen a lot of surprises, so I think we've eliminated those.
So to that end, I'd just like to, again, thank staff, right? I mean, when you work in the private sector, you would not think that a 5-year plan such as this one would be such a novel concept, right? This is something that we've sorely needed. The strategic planning puts forward, as all the other trustees and the mayor has already pointed out, the plan for how we're going to act. It doesn't mean that we necessarily can forecast everything that's going to happen in 4 or 5 years from now, but we have some answers to that now. We have some forethought and thinking. We're not going to look at debt as a means to simply react to a bad situation and kick the can down the road each year, budget to budget. We're putting this plan together so that we can make the hard decisions now, so that we can then look at the data as we go on year after year and make the adjustments as appropriate. So thank you, staff, for putting this together.
Any other comments? So can you put up, Nicole, can you put up the presentation, go to the financial section of that presentation for me, please? There it is. Go up. Up one more. There you go. Okay, great, thank you. So I'm going to kind of do the Cliff Notes version of this that I gave at the State of the Village, but just so that people understand where we came from. And before I do that, I also want to point out, so we did get 24 comments total, 23 of them opposing, 1 for it, but 24 out of 60,000 people. We put this online for 3 weeks, plus the notice of the last meeting as well, so almost a month this has been out there. I talked about it at the State of the Village. This has been talked about ad nauseum. We've certainly given the public a ton of information. Obviously, you could have watched the State of the Village where this was talked about. You could have watched the board meetings. I know that I responded, except for the 5 new comments. The other 17 comments, that at most 15 of them, I think, received a response from me with the capital plan, with links to the State of the Village, as well as the discussion we had. So, you know, it's important for everyone to understand that we can give you all the information possible, but if you don't read it, you don't look at it, you don't take the time, you know, you're not operating from the same place we are, because you don't have all the information. So in 2017, or since 2017, our position, in spite of COVID, our position improved a lot. And it allowed us this year to use $18 million in reserves for capital needs. So if you look at that chart on the left, that's the chart that was first shown to me about June of 2017, so 6 years ago. And, you know, aside from me going, what did I get myself into? Because as you see there, our reserves in 2016 audited were 35%. Our projected preliminary in 2017, the year I took office, was just over 23%, which was our desired reserve level was 20%. The projection was this year we'd be at minus 8.1%. So we were going to burn through our reserves, our savings, if you will, and start deficit spending for our operations. That's a problem, a huge problem. I asked the question, I said, well, how long have we known that? And the finance director at the time said, since 2012, nothing had been done. Well, we took some serious action in 2017, 18, 19, and going forward. And you can see how our reserves actually turned out. That's all those cuts we made, all the investments in technology to improve efficiency, the 10% of our workforce that we cut out with, by the way, without touching anyone in public safety, which is half of our, roughly half of our people. All that we did through all that time got us to that point. But the thing is we looked at everything, and we cut the services we could, we trimmed the services we could without having an impact. I think the only thing was the leaf pickup, which only 13% of the village got. And then I think the other big significant modification was how we do PACE bus pickup, which we saved $100,000, we still get the PACE bus pickup. So everything else was just an improvement in our operation. So we didn't cut the services people are receiving. We just got a lot smarter about what we were doing, and everyone contributed to that, so thank you to staff. But that got us to a point where this year we were able to use capital reserves, 18 million of that, for capital needs. That's why you see that drop from 48 to 23%. And that capital backlog that we had, unfortunately, it still exists. So go to the next slide. So during that time also, not only did we double our spending on roads and parks, but we cut our debt. So we've put ourselves in a better position for debt capacity. And some of that debt, the reason it was a little bit lower than that, we've actually used some of that for capital. But we also outsourced some things that made sense. We insourced some other things that made sense. You know, and we reorganized departments. We did a lot of work. Go to the next slide. But we face a lot of challenges. So there's unfunded mandates from the state, and there's more that just came down. There's prevailing wage now for things that would be considered maintenance, like power washing, and that now we're gonna have to pay ridiculous wages for, that we're gonna have to pay for. There's body cams that were forced, that, you know, now we think they're a good thing, but it's still an unfunded mandate from the state that costs us a lot of money. There's wages, so that mandatory paid time off for part-time employees really hammers the village, because we have lifeguards and all these people that have to now be given paid time off. And the very people that opposed it was AFSCME. And, you know, so across the state, they carved out park districts. They did not carve out park departments in villages. And we tried to fight to get that changed, and they refused to change it. That's a several $100,000 impact to our budget. There's the future state budget crisis. Don't kid yourself. They're already broke. This budget's already blown, and it hasn't even started yet. And it's going to get worse because they're not going to have COVID money to bail that out. Disparity of state and federal funding, which we're going to talk about. Pension costs are doing nothing to address it. What they have done to address it with Tier 2, there's some threats to that, to make that Tier 1, which would totally blow everything that all municipalities are doing. We've talked about the capital improvements that we need to do. There's some legacy costs we have to deal with, and then we all have to face the inflation and recession issues. So go to the next slide, please. So this is where I get to the being shortchanged by the state and federal government. So over to the right, it's a much smaller amount. It's 2.9 million in total is what that turns out to be. But the state paid, the 1,295-ish communities in the state got $136 per person. All but 46 of them, I think, got that much per person. They had formulas for those other 46. We fall in those other 46 because of our size. Those formulas, Orland Park got the least amount of any town. We got $86 per person. So that's 2.9 million less than what the average rate was. But to put this in perspective, Oak Park got $746 per person. So they think the people of Oak Park are worth, you know, roughly 9 times more than the people of Orland Park. They put a number on it. Chicago, $695 a person. So almost 8 times as much. I mean, they basically put a number on it. The people of Chicago, in the eyes of our congressman who voted for it, they believe that they're worth 8 times as much as us. That's what they did. So it short us about 2.9 million. The LGDF, which you've all heard about, the numbers are a little bit different than that. We're going to shave about $500,000 off of the next 4 years, so it'll be 45.7 will go to about 43.7. But LGDF was shared 10% of our sales of our income tax statewide was shared to the municipalities since 1969 on a per capita basis. Okay, so of course, you know, relative to what we put in, we get a little bit less, but it was just shared. You've got 60,000 people, you get 60,000 times the amount. You got, you know, 2.5 million like Chicago, you get 2.5 million times that amount. That's what you got. From 1969 to 2011, that's what they did. When they say, oh, we have a budget crisis, we're going to raise taxes, they cut the LGDF to 6% from 10%. So something that had worked for over 40 years, they changed. So since 2011, the difference, what you see up there is the difference between 10% and the 6% we're getting. In total, that's 45.7. They just gave us a little sliver back. We're up to 6.47% now. So that's going to be $43.7 million we've been shorted from LGDF. Well, you think about when you see how much unfunded capital we have, if we had that money, that's pretty significant money. That 45.7 is from 2022. I'm sorry. So going forward, it's another $5 million a year we're losing. So roughly $72 million in total we're going to lose. So flip to the next page. We also have some legacy costs that have been a problem for us. So Orland Health and Fitness, and I'll bring up one thing that if like 3 or 4 people brought up as well. Why are we doing the band shell and Centennial Park West with this cost? Well, you'll see later that 10 million is not going to make a difference as to whether or not we have to make these decisions to implement these taxes. It just won't, because there's still 106 million. There's still be a $96 million shortfall. And a good example of this is Orland Health and Fitness. Remember, I said we've done all these assessments to know exactly what the costs were. Well, since I arrived, we've spent $6.6 million on Orland Health and Fitness, and we have $6.5 more million to spend in the next 5 years. So $13 million. And you can make an argument that $13 million in spending is a waste of money. You can also make an argument that $13 million is not a waste of money because we got an indoor pool and all that. I can argue that either way. What I cannot argue is that they had no idea when they made this deal how much it was going to cost because they had no fact base. So they made an uneducated decision and said, oh, we'll just deal with it later. That's what we can't do. That's what we're not doing now. We know what the spending is that we have in the future. Tinley Creek is $4 million that we're going to have to incur because previous administration just refused to tell people that we have to get an easement. And the costs have gone up that much. And so MWRD is contributing, but they're not increasing their contribution much. So it's going to cost us $4 million that we could have avoided if we'd have just done the project when we had the money to do it. If we'd have just been willing to give people a hard message saying, we're going to do it. We've got a handful of residents there that still don't want to do it, and we're going to have to take a tough stance, but it needs to get done. Otherwise, that cost is going to go up even more. The Triangle, we've lost $31 million on the Triangle to date, and it'll go up a little bit from there. But what do we have to show for it? We have an apartment building, which I can tell you we can build apartment buildings here anytime. I know George would agree with that. We can build an apartment building anytime we want in Orland Park without giving any money to that. And we have a non-for-profit hospital, which is great, but it was coming here anyways. So we didn't really get anything for that. LaGrange Landscaping, $18 million. And when I say landscaping, it also includes all the brickwork and all of that kind of stuff. Probably in excess. Do we probably need to spend something? Yes. $18 million? Probably not. Boley Farm, there's an example of something we bought. We had money in the Open Lands Fund to fund the restoration, and we didn't bother to restore it. We just spent the money somewhere else, and so now we're stuck with that. So those are just some legacy costs. Flip to the next page. This, to me, is what really bothers me a lot. We gave out, because I hear this, oh, where's our property tax rebates? I heard this a lot. If you notice the property tax rebate and the debt numbers, every year that we took out, that we gave a rebate, we borrowed money to give you the rebate. So at a conservative 4% interest, which at that time we're probably paying a little bit more, that's $18 million in interest we paid. So that's $57 million to hand you a $150 check right before Election Day. They came out in March. They were basically buying your vote with borrowed money. That was really stupid. And you look at that number, and I'll show you in a bit, it really has an impact on what we have. So flip to the next slide. So this is the current 5-year plan. It's $198 million in capital. Roads and paths are almost half of that. Parks are 16% of that, and facilities are about a quarter of it, and that includes the police range. So, and a lot of the thing with police range, we showed that earlier. There's no way we can continue with that range. And then some of the other facilities that we need to do, including, the Public Works Garage, it was built 30 years ago. And so we've expanded, we're bigger, we need places for trucks. We also need to fix what we have there because it was old, because it's old. So those things are things that need to be done. And this represents a pairing of probably 15% of what we had or more, 15 or 20% of what we actually had in the 5-year plan. These are some projects we said, hey, we're never gonna need to do these, we're never gonna do these. Others we said, hey, maybe we can do these in 29, 30 kind of thing. They don't have to be done yet. So flip to the next page. These are the major capital projects you can see. So a lot of water projects in there. Local road repair is $6.4 million every year. And then you also see, there's also the gun range at, it looks like it's gonna come in a little bit under that, 10.3. It looks like it's gonna be about $1 million less than that, so good job. So those are some of the expenses going forward. So flip to the next page. We'll go ahead and flip, keep going. We'll go through the pictures. All right, right there. So remember I said that the state and the federal government shorted us money, okay? So the LGDF shortfall from 2011 to 2022 is 46 million. The projected shortfall is 28. It's actually gonna go down to 26, but close enough. The ARPA shortfall is 3. The unfunded capital, the money that we don't have to pay for capital, that we have to figure out how to get, it's 106 million. you can see, we only have a $29 million, if we would have gotten that money, we'd only have a $29 million gap, which we'd be able to cover with our borrowing capacity. And capital is actually a good use of debt, because just like your mortgage, it's something that lasts for 20 or 30 years. It actually makes sense because they're big projects. You got to pay for them up front and then pay it out over time. But because we borrow at such a low rate, it actually makes sense. Flip to the next page. On the other hand, I talked to you about the Village of Orland Park decisions. Property tax rebates, $39 million, interest, $18 million. The Triangle, $31 million, and Tinley Creek, $4 million. So that right there is what, 92 million. You'd only have a $14 million gap. You can argue the landscaping, you can argue the Orland Health and Fitness, but you can't argue that we shouldn't have more than a $14 million gap, which we could easily cover with debt, just because of a couple of really bad decisions, mostly property tax rebates in the Triangle. So, but we can't change the past. We have to deal with what our current present situation is. So flip to the next page. So we made a decision, or we're going to finalize all that tonight, and basically home rule sales tax going up 0.5%, utility tax going up, and vehicle stickers, getting rid of them, and property taxes, we believe we can bring them down to less than 5%, and so that's the goal. That's what's planned in the plan. And this will allow us to meet our capital needs. And you say, well, that's not 106 million. It's not. But we expect our borrowing needs to decrease. One, we can borrow that difference. We have the capacity to borrow that difference without putting us in a fiscal jam. But also, we believe we can find grants. We only have a couple million in grants planned for the next 4 years. In the last 4 years, I think we've gotten about 25 million in grants. So I think we're going to do better than that. The LGDF, we have had $2 million in restoration, so it does change us by $2 million bucks, I guess. And then we're going to continue to try and have operational improvements. This also maintains our fund balances. So flip to the next page. And our goal here is to get our property taxes. It was 6.82% in 2017. And it was 6.6% in 2021 of the overall bill, where our goal is to get that under 5%. That's our goal. So that's what the board is trying to do here. Flip to the next page. So as a result, we're going to be more self-sufficient. We're not going to be relying so much on the state. It does increase our reserves. It enhances public safety. It allows us to do the range. It allows us to update the public works garage and revamp our vehicle fleet and maintain our vehicle fleet. We should be able to keep those vehicles for longer and in better shape. The water redundancy and water main system that we've talked about in the past. Our local roads, we've talked about that before, but they'll be, at the end of 2027, they'll pretty much be best in class as far as what the condition. We'll have like 70% of them will be in very good condition, which really lowers our future spending and steadies that future spending out. We'll get ADA compliance on all of our sidewalks. The previously deferred projects will get completed. Our major park upgrades will get finished. So John Humphrey, which is well underway, Centennial West, Schuessler Park, and Dugan Park. And as I said, we'll be more self-sufficient. And the nice thing is, after this 5-year period, we'll be in a position to to transition to a pay-as-you-go model and increase our fund balances as well, so that we're in a better financial position over time. And that whole capital backlog, if you think of like, trying to something coming through a pipe that's too big to get through that pipe. Well, we'll have basically got rid of all that so that we have a much smoother cost going forward, and we don't have these big giant lumps where we have all this, because we're not going to push those things off. So a much better plan long term. So that's the goal here with all that we're doing. And credit to staff and the board for all the work building out the fact base, because that tells us exactly what our needs are. There aren't surprises here like we talked about. For those people who think, oh, these projects aren't needed, they're needed. I mean, the choice really is, it's do what we're doing or let our roads and parks and all that not get fixed. I mean, and let that decline. And I don't think that's what we want. I know everyone on this board, I know there's not a single person, and George and staff, not a single person in here wants to raise a tax, ever. But we also have to we were elected to be adults and make the hard decisions. Much like, our clerk here is on a school board, and sometimes they have to make the hard decision to redo districts. And people get upset because the kid's going to a different school. They get very upset, and you see them nodding his head. But you have to make those hard decisions, and that's what we're doing. And, it's a shame, some of those decisions could have been made earlier if you'd have been willing to tell someone no, or not try and entice them, and we wouldn't be in this spot, but we are. And so we're making those hard decisions, so the next boards don't have to, and so the next boards are in a much better spot. So I believe that this will keep the Orland Park the great community that it is, and I believe that this is an action we have to take, and we've done everything we can to avoid it, but that's where we're at. Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Municipal gas use tax ordinance.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Radiszewski.
I move to adopt an ordinance entitled an ordinance creating a new Chapter 24 imposing a municipal gas use tax of Title VII Business and License of the Orland Park Village Code and approving and authorizing the village president to execute an agreement with Northern Illinois Gas Company doing business as Nicor Gas Company for municipal gas use tax collection.
Second.
Any comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Electricity tax ordinance.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Healy.
I move to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance creating a new Chapter 23, parentheses, imposing an electricity tax, close parentheses, of Title VII, Business and License of the Orland Park Village Code.
Second.
Comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Home rule sales tax ordinance.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to adopt an ordinance entitled an ordinance authorizing amendments to Title VII Business and License, Chapter 7 Municipal Retailers Occupation Tax, Section 7-7-6 Home Rule Municipal Retailers Occupation Tax, and Home Rule Municipal Service Occupation Tax to increase home rule sales tax.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Vehicle license fee ordinance.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
move to adopt an ordinance entitled an ordinance amending Title IX, Chapter 1, Section 9-1-4 of the Orland Park Village Code, biennial license fees.
Second.
My one comment on this is that I also received several comments on this, and as well as a postcard and another note and phone calls about how thankful people are we're getting rid of this. So we are trying to balance our revenues. Call the roll.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Any non-scheduled citizens or visitors? Board comments.
Board comments. Trustee Compass.
So I'd like to start tonight by thanking Darrell Wertheim and the whole Veterans Commission for putting together such another outstanding Memorial Day presentation. The attendance for these events steadily grows each year, and I hope that more residents will come out for the next year. I always leave these events feeling even more thankful for all the freedoms we enjoy gifted to us by those that we honor each year. I'd also like to thank the young ladies that sang the anthem in God Bless America. It was great to see some youth involved in this program and hearing them perform. It was a wonderful performance. And of course, I'd like to thank Ed Schussler for the keynote address. Unofficially, Memorial Day always seems to be the time that we're kicking off our special events for the summer, and I know Rec, Public Works, Communications, and others will be very busy as always with all of our free music events. This week we have two, with the first Market in the Park starting on Thursday at 4 p.m. in Crescent Park. Then again on Saturday, we will have the first of our Centennial West free concert series with a Tom Petty cover band, Southern Accents, Beach Boys cover band, Sounds of Summer, and Jimmy Buffett and Alan Jackson cover band, Margarita World. So I hope to see you all there on Thursday and Saturday, and even more that we have such great weather. Knock on wood, Ray. Thank you.
Trustee Reardon.
The comments about, that we all made about, raising taxes, no one ever wants to do that. You don't sit up here and try to get elected and serve your community to come and raise taxes. But I think we've done it in a way, that is very comprehensive. We've looked at all the stuff that has been done, and we've done fact-based, like you've said. You get comments from people, we've seen them in various spots about the projects that we're doing. I think those are emotional, and people are upset about them. They're, you stand where you sit. Your position is where you're sitting. If you've been here a long time, maybe your kids are gone, maybe your grandkids aren't living in Orland Park. I'm around a lot of young parents in various things that I do in the town, and they are ecstatic about the park plan that they've seen for their kids, for sports, for lacrosse, and things like that. So I think you try to balance it, and I think that's what we're trying to do. With the revenue on the sales tax, I forget the number, you can probably correct me, but a large part of that comes from non-residents, right? I mean, so we're trying.
Over 60%.
Over 60% comes from non-residents. So that's, again, we're not just, we hear these comments that we don't listen to the people, and I cannot think, for 2.5 years doing this and about a half a year before that, I cannot think of more events and pushing out of information about all of these things. And so how we, to get their comments, about the parks and about the triangle and all that, that's all we've done, is try to get people to engage and talk to us and see what they want and explain to them what we're doing and what was already approved in 2003. Things that were already approved that we're just now trying to manage. So, again, I don't want to go too long, but my comment is that I think we're doing the best we can. I think that there are a lot of people that do support this. Maybe they're not the loudest voice all the time. And I would like to see everyone out on Saturday. I think it's going to be a great show.
Trustee Malani.
Once again, I'd like to congratulate Stella Michalak on her 100th birthday. What a tremendous milestone that was tonight. Also, congratulating Chief McCarthy on having the police department headquarters named after him. I think that's a great testimony to the great work that he did here in Orland Park. I was going to talk about the upcoming events, but Trustee Compass mentioned those already. I just want to keep in mind that those concerts are free, so we'd be happy to see you out there. But then also, I think we've done great work here tonight. We implemented a strategic plan that we put together to move Orland Park forward as we have for the last 4 to 6 years. And we're doing things here, if you look back historically, that probably should have been done a long time ago. I think the last time a tax was implemented was 2001, I think, if we remember back. And these things could have been done years ago. Back when we came out of 2008 and 2010, might have been a good time to think about. We could have evaluated how we can continue to build capital and revenue moving forward. 2016 would have been another nice place to do it. But instead, we kicked the can down the road and handed out faux property tax rebates. Well, now here, yes, we have to make some difficult decisions here, but looking at the future, I think it's the right thing to do. So, again, thank you, staff, for all the hard work you did over the past several months. I think you guys did a great thing, and we appreciate all the help in making an informed decision. So thank you, and have a good night, everybody.
Trustee Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had dinner last weekend with, I have some friends that I have dinner with, but and we, the wife, Peg, we exchanged thoughts on the new tax increases and the other items, and we actually, she listened to me and I listened to her, and she pointed out some other things that, I hope to maybe have an influence on, but it was a very good exchange of an adult conversation, and a good exchange, and as friends should do. But I had to point out a couple things, and I don't have time to be fancy with my language, but I mentioned to her that Illinois stole our money I don't know what you can flower it up. They stole our money, and that's why we have to raise taxes. We had the legacy cost. Yeah, it wasn't stealing, it was just poor decisions. That's why we have to. Another thing that nobody's mentioned is inflation. The price of a pizza at Fox's is $40 for a family. Hey, I know that more than anybody. So it's, yeah, so inflation has a big, you pay more for everything. Hard decisions? No, they're not hard decisions. Eisenhower at D-Day was a hard, maybe that was a little bit harder decision. Some of these Medal of Honor people jumping out of grade, maybe that's a harder decision than what we're just doing. It's just common sense decisions. And you've got, Illinois is a great example of how to squander tax money. They just waste their money on this project or another. Your money is not being squandered here. It's being run by professional management, by a professional board, giving different things. I'm sorry, we're not squandering money. We're doing it, and we're making decisions that maybe don't agree to everybody, but that's, too bad. They'll have to grow up, and if they move, they're going to move because they live in Illinois, not because they live in Orland Park. I challenge any other municipality in Illinois to do what we've done. Do a thorough study of everything and make a thorough decision. So I'm proud of what we did, and I'm not happy about it, but we got to move on. It's an adult decision, and I'll be happy to have an adult conversation with anyone. Thank you.
Trustee Gassinas.
Thank you. I think what this does too, making these decisions, it ensures we have the same level of service. We have great people as our police department with training, with the shooting range going in. But more importantly, it preserves the quality of life and property values. If you break it down, it looks like electric cost will be about $7.35 more per month for residential. Gas, it looks like $5.20 per month more. So $12.55 for the average household on the electric utility tax. Again, by having all these program services, I think that's a small price to pay to keep our town the quality that we've come to expect and enjoy. So thank you.
Trustee Radiszewski.
I think everybody kind of summed it all up. I definitely want to thank staff and thank everybody for all the work that went into putting this plan together. And yeah, it is reasonable decisions. It's hard because you don't want to have to raise taxes, but it's something that has to be done. And, we're making decisions that are needed. So thank you to the staff for doing that and to the board.
Thank you. Yeah, so, we've done some really good stuff tonight. The capital improvement plan, all the work done by staff, George, and department heads, and all of our staff, great work over the years, too, developing a fact-based. This is a fact-based decision. And, a lot of you know Glenn Horton. He has a very successful business. It's, third generation now, and Orland Park business. And he once said to me, he said, if I get 12 business leaders in a room and I give them all the facts about a problem, they'll almost always come up with the same solution because they have the same facts. And, we brought the facts to the table to make these decisions. And we didn't just guess and say, oh, well, let's just do this and see what happens. We actually, developed a plan and a decision. And yeah, we've had 24 comments or something that are negative, or 22 that are negative. And that's it. Don't see anybody here. And I challenge anyone who opposes this to watch the presentation tonight, watch the presentation from the State of the Village, watch the discussions we've had on this, and read the capital improvement plan. And then come to us with solutions or suggestions that are different, because no one came to us with a different alternative plan based on those facts, because my guess is most of them didn't review the facts, right? So we take the time to review the facts and look at all of this stuff. There's a reason why you elect 7 people to vote on, because you expect us to spend the time to review all this stuff and get all this information. Most people aren't going to read that 100-page report. They're not going to spend the hour watching the state of the village. They're not going to spend 30 minutes. I mean, that right there, that's probably 4 or 5 hours of your time. And everyone that I've had the conversation with about this, and believe me, they're all like-minded and not wanting to do this. Every person I've talked to, they said, yeah, it seems like a very logical step. So I think anyone who takes the time to listen to how we made the decision feels pretty good about it. Also, other great things we did tonight, 100th birthday celebration, and Tim McCarthy naming a building, naming the police headquarters after him is fantastic. I can't wait for the event. And you can also comment on the Memorial Day. Also, thanks to Ray and staff for putting together another successful movie this past weekend. I do apologize in advance. I will miss the next meeting, but I'm leaving it in the capable hands of Mayor Pro Tem Trustee Katsinas. If you need a booster seat over here, we'll get it for you. I will be seeing my new granddaughter on a week planned trip to Colorado. So I will not be here. Also, our July 3rd meeting has been canceled. So I want to remind you of many of upcoming events coming up between now and then. Trustee Compass already covered Centennial Park West concert, which is going to be great this weekend. Also, Market in the Park, he mentioned, starts Thursday and every Thursday throughout the summer. Starts with Big Dog Mercer this Thursday. On Summerfest, which we're sponsoring with the Chamber of Commerce, which is over Father's Day weekend, so please come out and enjoy that. On July 3rd, we'll host our annual Liberty Run and Walk. July 4th, we'll have fireworks and a concert at Centennial Park. And keep in mind that all of these concert events are going to move to the Centennial Park West going forward next year, so this will be the last time there. On July 8th, we host another vintage baseball game at Stellwagen Farm, which was quite interesting. If you haven't done it, I'm not saying it's an every year event, but it's certainly an event that if you go to, you'll have a good time and see some interesting stuff. On July 15th, we will have yet another concert at Centennial Park West. And this one, the construction will have been started at that point, so we'll be actually doing it in the parking lot at Metro. So parking will be a little bit different, might be across the bridge or under the bridge over there. But that will be include Dancing Queen, which is an ABBA tribute band, Too Much Molly, and then ZBTB, which is a Zach Brown tribute band. So I look forward to seeing everyone at all these summer events, and I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to go into executive session for A, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performances, or dismissal of specific village employees. B, pending litigation against, affecting, or on behalf of the village, or when found by the board that such action is probable or imminent. C, collective negotiating matters between the village and its employees or their representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
Second.
Call roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. And we'll head on to executive session. Okay, we'll restart the meeting. Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Here.
Trustee Katsinas.
Here.
Trustee Malani.
Here.
Trustee Compass.
Here.
Trustee Reardon.
Here.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Here.
Mayor Pico.
Here.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
move to authorize the village manager to execute the settlement agreement and general release by and between the village of Orland Park and Liam Walsh.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. We're adjourned. You guys.